If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I could take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life.
Hello. Welcome back to my celebrity book club. Today, I have a question for you. Who is your favorite book Instagrammer? You don't have to say me, because my personal favorite is Dua Lipa. Dua freaking Lipa! That's right, Dua Lipa, Miss Future Nostalgia herself, Miss I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Of course she reads. Of course she reads. And she has been generously sharing her reading recommendations with us, mere mortals. These recommendations have been shared on her Instagram and Instagram stories, and so, like any rational human being would, I have decided to read all of them. This woman is so cool. She releases banger after banger. And I want to know if these books, too, will blow my mind. Moi. That joke worked way better in my head. I don't know why I said that. I actually have the week off work this week, and so, yes, I will be spending it reading all of Dua Lipa's reading recommendations. That isn't sad. In the words of Dua Lipa, IDGAF. I think. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that today's video is very kindly sponsored by Karma. Karma have been huge supporters of this YouTube channel and basically allow me to continue posting nonsense on the internet, and I love them a lot. Karma is an app and Chrome extension that makes sure you never miss a price drop or a coupon code. It is constantly saving me money when I buy books for these videos, especially when people like Dua Lipa recommend a whole library. So click the link down below to download Karma, and then when you're shopping on your favorite online stores, you can save the items using the Karma button, and then you'll get a notification when that item goes on sale, has a relevant coupon code, or is back in stock. You can then organize your items into lists and shop mindfully. Here is my Dua Lipa list. And on the Chrome version, Karma will scan the internet to find you a relevant coupon code and apply it automatically. And you can now earn Karma Cash to your PayPal account when shopping from select retail partners. And Karma is completely free to download, so click the link in the description box below. And when Dua Lipa said, "Don't start now," she was not referring to this video, because we absolutely will be starting right now. And we will see if these books will leave me levitating or break my heart. I'm really trying here, guys. And the first book I'm going to be reading is Queenie. So here's the thing, right? I may or may not have consumed this whole thing in one sitting, because it was that good and that engaging. This book is all about sex and relationships, gentrification, misogynoir, and ultimately, I suppose, self-worth. It centers around a woman called Queenie Jenkins, who is from a dysfunctional Jamaican-British family, and the story enters her life just as her and her long-term boyfriend decide to take a break. They refer to themselves as the interracial Ross and Rachel. She's trying and failing to navigate her life, her personal relationships, her mental health, and her job. And honestly, the thing I loved most about this book was the really vibrant cast of peripheral characters. Like, every single one had such a distinctive personality. And that's something that I feel a lot of authors actually struggle to do, but this book is a masterclass in writing characters who actually add to the narrative. And the other thing I think this book does really well is showing how small occurrences, interactions, and microaggressions over time build up and become very overwhelming, and ultimately wear someone down, like they do with Queenie. For example, one major motif in this book, which you can probably tell from the cover, is black hair. And we see how regularly white people try to touch it or make inappropriate comments about it. When it's kind of distilled into a book like this, it's so impactful. Like, do you ever just want to reach into a book and slap someone? Because that happened a lot in this. I also liked that Queenie is a flawed character. She's not perfect. She regularly pushes people away who are just trying to help her, and she makes bad decisions, but don't we all? For me, that made her more real. Normalize being wrong regularly. This is a quick, fast-paced read, but it covers so much ground. Dua Lipa was a fan, so am I, and Dua Lipa was actually sent an advance copy of this book because New Rules is mentioned in it. At one point, Queenie is making a list of promises which she regularly breaks, and her friend is basically like, "Okay, Dua Lipa, with your new rules." And Dua Lipa describes it as a brilliant coming-of-age book. It's so honest and so raw, and I highly agree. This was a win. Now, the next few books I bought because Dua Lipa posted a book haul on her Instagram stories. And the thing is, I too love a book haul on my Instagram stories, so like, oh, we should be besties. In the meantime, I read this book, and this is Luster by Raven Leilani. This was longlisted for the Women's Prize this year, and I can see why, because it is exquisitely written. "You can be yourself with me, you know," he says, "and it's all I can do not to laugh right in his face. Thanks, I say. But I know he doesn't mean it. He wants me to be myself like a leopard might be herself in a city zoo. Inert, waiting to be fed, not out in the wild with tendon in her teeth." Like, are you kidding me? Luster is basically a portrait of a woman who is in her mid-20s and she's having an affair with a middle-aged married man. And it's one of those books where not a lot actually happens, but you stay for the gorgeous writing. There are lines that will wreck you. When it comes to this, I cannot help feeling that I'm at the end of a fluctuation that originated with a single butterfly. I mean, with 1/2 a degree of difference, everything I want could be mine. I am good, but not good enough, which is worse than simply being bad. It is almost. The difference between being there when it happens and stepping out just in time to see it on the news. I rest my case. There are so many sharp and witty observations about the human experience, and it's so darkly funny and original and provocative and brutal, and I'm so glad that I read this. My verdict is this book is hotter than hell. And yes, I am still going with the Dua Lipa references. I'll run out soon, I'm sure, but until then, on to the next book. The next book in Dua Lipa's book haul was this one, and this is Trick Mirror. Now, this may sound dumb, but hear me out. If I had a friend who was one of the most famous women on the planet, I would recommend this book to them. Like, I think Dua Lipa is the perfect reader of this book. And Trick Mirror is a collection of essays which cover internet culture, reality TV, female celebrities, female characters in literature, and also the way that the media often portrays famous women as difficult if they fail to kind of like compartmentalize and box them. So for instance, it speaks about people like Britney Spears, Amy Winehouse, and Miley Cyrus. Women who the media deem to be too much, and basically why that's so damaging. For me, the best essay was the first one, which is called The Eye in Internet, and I underlined the shit out of that. It talks about how social media is an attention economy, so we basically exchange our private lives for public domain. It's also about how we lose a sense of scale on the internet and overvalue our personal opinions. Like, we form very strong opinions on things that we actually don't know that much about. And there's a really interesting discussion about performative activism, and also how pretty much everything you do online is a performance of some type. And maybe this is an extreme response to this book, but after reading that essay, I deactivated my Twitter account. And it's because I kind of realized that on Twitter, everyone is always trying to out-nuance each other, and you can never truly represent how you actually feel, and taking things out of context for the sake of retweets and likes, and I was just done. I really said, get that fire exit door, I'm off. But having said that, as much as I loved that first essay, and a few of the others as well, you know how future nostalgia has just hit after hit? This book was not that. It was nothing of the sort, because some of the essays are just a bit naff. Like, a few of them just retell other stories, and I found it a bit dull, because they just didn't feel anywhere near as original or astute. So I had a kind of mixed reaction to this book because it peaked so early on, but I kind of felt like the target audience for this book already knows, or at least agrees with, 95% of the things that are said in this book, and so I didn't really feel like I learned much at all after that first essay, and so it just fell a bit flat for me, to be honest. Apparently as flat as my head. So on to the next book. Can we talk about The Vanishing Half? Because this is phenomenal, and our bestie, Dua Lipa, has posted about this not only on her Instagram story, but also she recently posted a picture of her sister reading it. And I can highly relate to that because, like Dua Lipa, I cannot shut up about this book, and I do recommend it to everyone I know. It's basically about two sisters who are black but could pass as white. In fact, it is actually inspired by this book, which is called Passing by Nella Larson. In The Vanishing Half, the identical twin sisters become separated, and whereas one lives her life as a black woman, the other one chooses to pass as white. So it's all about how their lives diverge and collide as of that moment. Very interestingly, we also follow their children's lives, and there's also some really cool trans representation. This book is just the best. I truly just think it's the perfect book. So nuanced, so beautifully told, easy 5 stars. Dua Lipa, I know you got spare Grammys, can this have one? I was completely and utterly gripped by this. Please read The Vanishing Half. You know, I have just realized every single book that Dua Lipa has recommended so far has been by a female black author, so that's really cool. Very refreshing to see such an influential voice recommending this fiction, so yeah, on to the next one. Next, we have the book that Dua Lipa has said is her favourite book of all time, and also good sun protection. And oh my lord, Dua Lipa said, you are going to suffer, because this was an emotional decathlon. Jesus. It is, of course, The Beast, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. And when I tell you the only thing little about this is the title, holy hell, this is 720 pages of just pure emotional trauma and turmoil and suffering. Just the most profoundly sad thing I think I've ever encountered, aside from my bank balance after a night out. I'm telling you, when the guy from Come Dine With Me said, what a sad little life, Jane, This is the little life he was referring to. This is sad. A Little Life is about this group of guys who went to university together, and it spends like the first 200 pages making us adore them. Like, I would die for these characters. When Dua Lipa said, "Am I falling in love with the one that could break my heart?" she was referring to this book. And just as you start to care so deeply about these characters, the author just wrecks them. And it wrecked me in the process. Like, did I finish this book or did this book finish me? I don't even know. It did cure my big book fear though. I devoured this in like 4 days. And I actually did film a more detailed vlog of my reading experience of this book over on my second channel. So if you want to go check that out, link is down below. What I will say, however, is that if you have triggers, you're probably gonna find them in here. This is not a book I will ever recommend to someone without making sure they have read all of the trigger warnings, because this could mess you up. I experienced such extreme emotions just reading this. It's shocking, it's distressing, it's devastating. It hit me hard. But I also thought it was genius, and maybe I'm insane for saying that, but I thought this was a masterpiece. So many beautiful lines. It is written unflinchingly with so much clarity and depth, and because the page count is so long, it really gets to explore absolutely everything. But this was a big 2021 goal of mine to get around to reading this, so thank you, Dua Lipa. Much appreciated, even though this destroyed me. Another day, another Dua Lipa reading recommendation, because this woman will not let me breathe. Like, every time I think I'm nearly done with this video, she recommends another book, and it's fine. I'm doing fine. She is currently on holiday, and her holiday read, which she's been posting loads of pictures of, is Misery by Stephen King. And because I didn't have a physical copy of the book, I've been listening to it as an audiobook. And this is the biggest page turner where I never had to turn a page. I was hooked. It's basically a very sinister, creepy story about a writer who is the author of a very popular romance series about a character called Misery. And he is basically captured and held hostage by his #1 fan. And this fan basically makes him write another book in the series. And I do think it is a great holiday read, because it's one of those books that you can't help but keep listening to or reading because you just want to know what happens next. It is captivating. Stephen King has a cult following. He's written so many iconic books, and this was actually the first one of his I've ever read/listened to, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. And aside from the plot, it's also superbly written. I am a big fan of this, and I can't wait to read more Stephen King. And then the next book is in my bag, because I was reading it on the train, and that is The Girls by Emma Cline. And this is all about a woman who is reflecting on her time when she was younger, and a kind of misunderstood, angsty teenager, and she joined a cult. She feels very trapped in the home of her mum and her stepfather, and then she sees these girls, and she just becomes enthralled by them and their sense of abandon and the freedom that she perceives that they have. So she's basically retelling the story of her time in the cult and all of the crazy things that they get up to. And I have to say, it's a slow burner at first. Like, the first 100 pages I found such a bore, but then it does get quite good, so it is worth sticking with. And I've never really understood when people referred to books as whimsical. Like, I've never really understood why that was a word people used to describe books until this. Whimsical is just the perfect way to sum up this book. It's a very understated writing style, very atmospheric, very quintessentially 1960s, and also feels like quite a summery read, but not necessarily a new favorite. Also, I got this in a charity shop, and the previous owner has written their email address and passwords for all social media in the back of this, so I'm not going to hack them, but just to note, don't write your passwords in a book that you then give to charity. I think we can all learn a lesson here from that. And I'm gonna go now, but by the time I see you next, Dua Lipa may have recommended like 12 more books, so watch this space. The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead is the first book that I've read for this video that I didn't enjoy. To be honest, I kind of hated it. Please don't come for me. But I just didn't gel with the writing style at all. I found that it was very, she did this, then she did that, then she did this, then she did that, and I didn't like it. I also felt like I was being held at arm's length from the characters. Like, I wish this had been written in first person, because the ideas and the subject area are so important, because it's basically a book about the slave trade and about two people who miraculously managed to escape from their captor, and then it's the process of them being on the run and being pursued by someone who's trying to recapture them. And to his credit, Colson Whitehead clearly did an insane amount of research on this and imagines what it would have been like if the Underground Railroad had been a physical locomotive that would basically pick up people escaping from slavery. And Dua Lipa recommended this book last year as part of an educational reading list all about America's history, specifically during the Black Lives Matter protests last year. And yes, obviously this book and learning about that history is so fundamentally important. For me though, this fictional retelling isn't anywhere near as useful as actual slave narratives from the time. For example, you have Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs, as well as the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Like, I would personally highly recommend you read those two instead of this. And subject area aside, from a purely literary perspective, I just felt like the characters in this book weren't developed at all, including the characters at the center of the novel. Like, one of them literally disappears for like 75 pages and I didn't even notice he was gone because he just hadn't been developed. Like, go girl, give us nothing. Obviously, we're rooting for these characters because of the awful circumstances that they are escaping. But to keep me actively engaged for 400 pages, I want to know how they're feeling, not just what they're doing. So yeah, kind of underwhelmed by this, not gonna lie. But the last book is an absolute corker, and so I will see you tomorrow for the end of the video. The final book that Dua Lipa has recommended is Normal People by Sally Rooney. You know how I feel about this book. I've said it before, I will say it again. I would read this woman's shopping list if she published it because she is so talented. This book is all about love and friendship and commitment and class. I think it perfectly captures university and the experience of imposter syndrome. I love the way that Sally Rooney approaches communication or lack thereof with complex, flawed characters. And I just think her writing is electrifying. Big Sally Rooney fan. Sally Rooney stan over here. And Dua Lipa agrees. She said that she read this whole book, Normal People, in one day, which is very relatable because that is exactly the same way that I consume this book. It's addicting. And so what have we learned from this video? Firstly, I have too much free time. And secondly, Dua Lipa has taste. And now I'm even more obsessed with her. Dua Lipa, if you're watching, I'm sure you're not. Thanks very much for the recommendations. This has been a fantastic time. I really enjoyed myself, even though some of these books destroyed me. Dua's interest in literature seems to prioritize fascinating, complicated characters over like a really detailed plot, and I definitely agree with that. That's what I prefer too. And she also reads and recommends a huge range of diverse authors, which is really freaking cool. Thanks very much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe down below for more from me. A massive shout out, of course, to the virtual shopping assistant Karma. The link to download will be down below. Check it out if you want to, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.